What other topics do you have on there?
Oh, okay, here's one I want to get input from you on, because I want to talk about things that kids believe in that we weren't allowed to believe in. Like, were y'all taught that Santa was real or not? Santa, okay. Easter Bunny, Tooth Fairy. Were y'all allowed to believe in those things?
No.
Because we were not.
Matter of fact, people in our church called him Satan Claus. Because he is like Jesus, and so he is the Antichrist.
He's the Antichrist? So my parents would tell us that it was a fun game some people played. And because we watched anything that was old. We watched the old claymation Rudolph and all the Santa movies. And they're like, yeah, this is a cute game that some people play. What they didn't tell us that they should have is that some people believe it, and you shouldn't crush the dreams of other children.
Yeah. Guess what, kids?
Because they didn't tell us that some people actually believed in the Easter Bunny and the Tooth Fairy and Santa Claus. We just were always, this is a game. And we're like, yes, this is a fun game. So we would be like, Santa's coming, wink, wink, you know. And
some poor kid in the corner is like,
And we had gone over to our friend's house, or we made some sort of comment about your parents doing gifts, and they're like, well, it's Santa. And we're like, yeah, but it's not. And they just stared at us. And we're like, because it's your parents. And then they're like, no, it's Santa. We're like, y'all can't. And we were laughing, like, y'all can't be serious because Santa's not real. They started crying. They started crying, and they ran to their mom. Oh! And then we got in trouble. They're like, they don't know that Santa's not real. Well, and then we felt terrible. And we're like, well, we didn't know this was a thing. And my parents were like, oh yeah, some people believe it, but they shouldn't. It made us feel bad as bad friends, like we were terrible people. And I was like, you probably should have warned us. And that happened too. I had a friend, I was at her house. She lost a tooth. And she was talking about putting it under her pillow for the Tooth Fairy. And I was like, oh, just make sure your parents know. She's like, why? And I said, because, I was like, so they can put something under your pillow? She's like, it's the Tooth Fairy. And I just stared at her. And I was like 13 at this point, and she was about my same age, so she was almost a teenager. But she believed in the Tooth Fairy, and I thought she was teasing. Again, I did not understand. I was like, no, for your mom. I was like, we need to go tell your mom. And she got mad at me for telling her that the Tooth Fairy wasn't real. She just got angry. Like, how dare you talk about the Tooth Fairy that way, and you're never going to get anything from the Tooth Fairy.
Oh, wow.
Okay, I was like, well, I will, because I tell my mom when I lose a tooth, and she'll give me $1 or something. I don't know.
See, we never did any of that. My parents would do Easter baskets, but it was from them. It wasn't from the Easter Bunny. Or, like, at Christmas, they'd put, like, from Santa or Rudolph, but we knew Santa wasn't real.
Right.
But I also remember having this, and I feel bad saying this, sense of, like, superiority, like, I'm smarter because I know Santa's fake.
I know that Santa's fake.
No, we didn't do any of that. That was a no-no, because if the thought behind it was you're lying to your kids.
Yeah.
And if they believe that Santa's real and they find out he's not, when you tell them about Jesus, they're going to think Jesus
My parents used to say that, too. They're like, well, we didn't want you to lie to us, which also I don't think you should lie to your kids. Also, it's a good thing I'm not a parent, because I don't think I know how to parent right, because all I've had is bad parenting my whole life, and I'm like, I'm just a weird mix of what I think you should do and what I've been told, and I don't know. So that's why I'm like, the kids thing is just not for me. I don't know, because I was like, yeah, you shouldn't lie to your kids, but also, is it so bad for them to have, something kind of fun to believe in? But does it teach them that you lie? I don't know.
I don't know. This is why I'm glad I don't have kids, because I feel like I've messed them up.
Oh, I would 100% mess up kids. That's why I have cats. Pets are 100% the way to go.
I mean, there is Dog Santa. I mean, we believe in him in our house. Dog Santa. If you believe in Santa, if your kids believe in Santa, and Santa gives them presents, do you also get them presents? Or do the kids be like, how come you didn't get me nothing, Mom and Dad?
According to Hayden, because I don't know, this is coming from my husband who was public school and apparently had a quote-unquote normal childhood, he said that they had gifts that were parent presents, and then they had gifts that were Santa presents. So they would literally say, this is from us, this is from Santa.
Oh, okay.
So they knew that there was both.
Learn something every day. Yes, short answer, no, we didn't believe in any of that.
No.
It was like...
We weren't allowed to believe in that, because we weren't allowed to celebrate Halloween either.
Did you trick-or-treat?
Nope. I've still never been trick-or-treating.
We should do adult trick-or-treating.
Don't people get angry if adults show up outside their door? Or is that socially okay?
Let me tell you what I did last year downtown.
Tell me.
We went down there and they were having, a friend of mine had a baby. And people were handing out candy. Okay, this is like a 6-month-old baby. He can't eat candy.
It's baby can't even have candy.
And I was like, you know what? I never got this as a child. And so I was like, hey, can I have some? They got mad at me. I was homeschooled. Not everybody understands that though.
Yeah, I was like, I have never been trick-or-treating to this day.
Mm-mm.
The closest I've had is when I came home. So I was working one night on Halloween, and I came home, and my husband and one of our friends in San Antonio, they had been giving out candy at our house. So when I walked up, they're like, wait, you've never trick-or-treated, come up. And so they had me come up to the door and go trick-or-treat, and then they gave me candy. So I've been trick-or-treating at my own house before.
There you go. I think that's why Halloween is like special to me, because I feel like it's something I didn't get to experience as a kid.
Yeah.
Because it was like evil. It's like Satan's
It's the
night.
Satan's holiday, and that's when you're gonna get demon possessed.
But what always irritated me is they'll do like trunk or treat, and you dress up as Bible characters, and I'm like, aren't you doing the same thing? But you know, whatever.
We used to have fall festival at the church. And you would dress up as Bible characters. They always had rules like nothing scary. We would usually do Bible, or sometimes my mom would let us be a cat. So she handmade us cat costumes, which y'all know how I feel about cats, so it worked. Yeah, so we would go, and we were allowed to do that where you would play games and get candy at the church.
Yeah.
For fall festival. But you couldn't go to strangers' houses. But they were also convinced that the strangers were going to put drugs and blades in your candy. And then I go, always check. Yes, this was the 90s and early 2000s. So they were convinced that all the parents were putting razor blades and drugs.
Wasn't that about the time of the Satanic Panic, too?
Yeah,
so they probably
there was
were
a lot of that, too.
All these Satanists are out here putting weapons in our children's candy.
Good times.
Although, let me say this. We didn't go trick-or-treating, but in our neighborhood, we had the police chief who lived at the end of our street. Mm-hmm. And he noticed we never came to his house when all the kids went trick-or-treating. So he brought me a huge grocery bag full of candy. And I remember like being so emotional about it when I was a kid. I was like, you saw this?
Oh, another holiday though, Easter. So, like, you know, we did Easter egg hunts and stuff.
Yeah.
But
why can you do Easter egg hunts?
That's what I was going to raise the question. So, I want to hear your thoughts about this. Easter is, like, famously a pagan holiday.
It is.
So, but it's okay for us to apparently celebrate that, but not Halloween. Yeah. That was what I was always wondering, because we would celebrate Easter, which I know that there's, like, the Christian Easter.
Yeah.
But also, we did they do egg hunts at the church. Because, like, the whole background, and I'm going to get this wrong, so if someone's in the comments, it's probably be like, that's not how the story goes. But I remember, roughly, there's some, like, fertility goddess, and there was a story, something about there being a rabbit, she made, like, a rabbit come out of an egg or something like that. What was it?
That sounds familiar.
Something, I know I got that totally messed up. Yeah. But the whole idea of the eggs and the rabbits came for this fertility goddess. You know, they'd always be like, it's so pagan, you know, the pagan holidays. But we were allowed to have rabbits and candy out of eggs and stuff,
and people would decorate,
and that was fine.
Easter bunnies,
and everyone loved the Easter bunnies.
It's like you go to church on Sunday morning and get your Jesus in, and then you go home and hunt. Then you go home and do the pagan stuff. I guess. Yeah,
same thing with like Christmas trees.
Yeah,
Christmas tree, like the trees themselves, that comes from some pagan holidays.
Now I did have a family growing up, not my family, but a family I knew. They were homeschooled. They didn't do a Christmas tree. They did a manger scene. And you put all of your gifts around the manger.
You give them to baby Jesus?
But it was all still the same. I mean, they just didn't have a tree.
They just didn't have the actual tree.
But see, for me, Easter was about candy and getting dressed up. Because that's like the only time of year. And I would show up to show out. Like, I had on white gloves, a hat, lace socks.
I love that. It was a big thing, you know, you always wear your Easter best. You dress up in a fancy dress. Mm-hmm. And I don't know why in our family it was something like you hadn't worn before. Like, we would get a new dress.
It has to be new. An Easter
dress. It has to be new.
It's your Easter dress.
It has to be new? I don't know.
Well, I felt like, for me, okay, this is how bad. For me, it was like one of the days that you got to wear something and you didn't look as much like a homeschooler.
That's true.